It's the same computer that Jennifer uses for her audiobooks?
No, it is not. I am
Okay.
not
You do not touch that
allowed.
box.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We were actually talking about, as you know, Ben, still hoping to move at some point in time.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about and I think we've already said this before. It's Chicago where I'm looking to move.
Yeah.
And Jennifer mentioned that in order to list houses as having, a certain number of bedrooms, what they started doing was dividing rooms, like putting a wall in between a room, like in the middle of a room, so that they could say that there are more rooms.
Yeah.
And I was suggesting, like, do you
6
remember
bedrooms, 1 bathroom.
back when I lived at the Marwood? It was in Capitol Hill.
I remember the Marwood,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. My favorite room that I've ever had at any place I've ever stayed was this big, like basically a closet that was just big enough to put a futon in. And I would work nights. And so in the summertime, it was unbearably hot.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime, I didn't have to heat my house that much at all. I would just stay in that. I would sleep in that little closet area.
Did you also have your computer in that little room, or am I
No,
misremembering
my
that?
computer was in the back room.
The
I'd
back room.
yeah, so I slept. My bedroom, quote unquote, was that closet.
So when you
Then
walk
I
in,
had a back room
when you
with a
walk in
green
the
screen and
when you walk in the
yeah.
front door, I remember
Mhm.
there being a little room off to the left. Is that where?
That is that room. Yeah.
That's the room you're talking about.
Yep.
Okay.
And then my TV was to the right, and there was a kitchen over here, and then back and to the left. Okay,
Uh-oh, I lost Paul. I
you
don't know if
froze,
it's...
Ben.
Yeah, you froze for me
Yeah.
too. What did you say?
Okay.
You were making
I,
a back and to the
I
left joke when you
I said
froze.
back and to the left, and we'll get to that later. Uh, there was the room where the computer was at. It was
Okay.
a sort of a computer slash
I
music room.
remember that being a nice
Um,
place. And it was probably, at
yeah,
that
it
time,
was
pretty
pretty good.
reasonably priced for rent, but I'm sure it's...
800 a month,
Yeah, that's
about
middle of
800
the
a month.
top end, I think, for about 20 years ago. I'm sure that same apartment with no, like, with no, like, massive refurbishments probably goes for like 25 to 2,800 a month now.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, one of the reasons why we're hoping to move to Chicago, um, much cheaper to live there.
Then
Um,
Seattle or then Edwardsville?
yes, then Seattle,
Yeah,
and even comparable to Edwardsville.
really.
Like the places that we're looking at are hopefully going to be around the same prices I'm paying for rent now. I'm paying really low rent right now for Edwardsville, and it'll be really low rent for Chicago too. But we're
Well,
not going to be in, you know,
it won't be a rent either. It'll be
downtown.
a mortgage.
Yep, it will be a mortgage, and so yeah, looking forward to all of that. Um, I've been driving Jennifer a little bit nuts by going. So the house that we're in now, if this were the house that we were living in Chicago, how much do you think it would go for? What do you think it's like the places that we're looking at? Are they better than this house? Or they were and
Are you doing
the
it
big
with that
thing that
head
you should
tilt
know.
too?
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about the house that we go? And I add in the
In the
arms. I
arms.
add no, but the thing I was going to say is that Jennifer is like there's a hierarchy of who likes the house. Jennifer is the top person, and then me, and then Betty.
Yeah.
Basically, is the way it's working. Because as long as Jennifer's happy, I'm good.
And you're looking for a
I really
place
want a place that's close to
with no...
like a light rail,
Yeah.
or sorry, the L.
Or some sort of public
Oh, this is
transportation.
one. The thing I was talking to some people about it, some people in Chicago,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, the thing you have to understand is that in Chicagoland, there's this thing, and And I was like, in what? And they say
Chicagoland?
Chicagoland.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, when they talk about Chicago, which is pretty cool. Um, it's funny too. I spent all this time trying to remember it's the Willis Tower, not the Sears Tower. Almost everybody still calls it the Sears Tower.
Of course.
So time wasted. Oh,
Yeah.
and I also practicing saying pop instead of soda.
Oh, is
Now,
Chicagoland a pop region?
it is a pop region. And again, the funny thing, this is the other thing I'm looking forward to. 51 years old now,
Yeah.
right? I lived in Elmhurst until I was like 2. So I'm a Chicago native.
Where's Elmhurst?
I was born in Chicago. It's in Chicago.
Oh,
I was born in
the
Berwyn, which is Elmhurst. But they all are in Chicago
right.
proper. I mean, we looked at a place in Cicero. It's where my biological dad grew up. Hey Ben, heard any good jokes lately?
I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of you're cutting out a lot for me. My internet connection is unstable, says Zoom. So,
do you want me to try dropping and coming back in, or it's your problem, not mine?
I think it might be I think it might be my problem, but let's try to reset. Why don't you drop out and come back in, and we'll see if that fixes it at least temporarily.
Okay. All right, I quit.
Ah, gonna go back here. Oh, I'm just ahead. Look, it's just me on the stream now. In glorious 16:9 color. And I know Paul is still talking. He's probably saying exactly what he's doing in the way for the future podcast archaeologists to...
Gmail's a program that you get mail from. Zoom is a program that you have face-to-face meetings. You have a screen, which is a flat object that's reflective. You see images on it.
I was just telling the viewers on the stream that you are probably narrating what you are doing and by describing the things that you are doing them with for the future podcast archaeologists.
I know that the future podcast archaeologists may not know exactly what the objects that we're dealing with are, depending on what their level of technological advancement is.
Yeah.
It could sound like magic, or it could sound very primitive, and it's hard to say where we're at. I think I've talked to you about this before, Ben, but I feel like we as a species are kind of, I do understand the acceleration of technology. I do understand that we are, living in it, and, the singularity may be upon us, et cetera, et cetera. But I think in another way, we are still in the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution and the space age and the communication age and all that.
The information age.
All part of the same Industrial Revolution time period. It's just that we're outside of it, so we don't notice.
All part of the Anthropocene.
Yes, exactly. I never read that, by the way. I got it. The Anthropocene Reviewed, I think it's called. It's by John Green.
Oh, one of the Vlog brothers?
Oh, yeah, who's the other one?
Hank.
Yeah, it's John Green.
Okay.
Hank is it's John Green. Hank is my favorite. John is the one whose book I own. Sorry, John. No, because Hank is a-religious. So I find him easier to get along with.
I don't keep
Hank,
up.
Hank being a-religious isn't a big deal. John is perfectly nice.
Go ahead. I don't keep up with them. I don't actually know. I know John has written books. Paper Towns is one of them. The Fault in Our Stars is another one.
Mm-hmm.
I used to watch, I tried to keep up with them back like when they first started, you know, like when like video blogging was still like a new fun thing. And
I'm the exact opposite.
every once in a while, YouTube will try to serve me up one of their videos, and I'm like, yeah. I feel like
Yeah,
I've missed out on 15 years of content. I'm just gonna be lost.
so I knew of the Vlog Brothers, but I didn't really watch them at all. So
Yeah.
for me, Hank Green is Hank Green from TikTok, which
Uh,
I don't follow TikTok anymore, but
it is
it's still
interesting how they're how even though I don't watch their content, I still know more than I should about them than other random vloggers. Like, I
yeah,
know Hank had cancer recently. Why do I know
yes,
this? I think because YouTube tried to serve me up a video from Hank channel saying I have cancer. You know, something
yes.
to that effect. So they have very good SEO if that's what it's called when YouTube wants to promote your stuff.
It's interesting. I'm I'm on a like I've mentioned before. I'm on a Discord with a bunch of indie role playing game folks.
Yeah.
Uh, some of them are into theater and stand up and stuff like that, and they had all kind of harsh critiques of his special that he did on Dropout. I really liked it, and I feel like I understand comedy and acting and stuff
Yeah.
a little bit. Um, but yeah, it is interesting the things that some people don't like and other people do. It's interesting, Ben, things that some people like and other people do, which is a great segue into current events.
It's weird that people don't like things that I love. Who are these people?
Who are these people?
Get away, Seinfeld. You bother me. Current events,
Oh,
Paul.
geez.
Is this Ben gonna guess the news?
Sure, why not? Hey, Ben,
Yes, Paul.
anything interesting happened since we last talked?
Well, yeah. I think something
Ooh,
interesting did
Ben,
happen.
Ben, Ben, Ben. Here it is. Here it is. Okay. I'm gonna do this thing, and I think you're gonna get
I think I know
what it is
exactly
I'm
what
doing.
you're gonna do. Yeah.
Yes, Ben. As you know, there is a presidential election coming up.
There is a
There are
presidential election.
two candidates, Ben,
Yeah.
running for president, and there's news. Something has happened that may affect the chances of one of these candidates who is running for president. What do you think it is?
Is
Yes.
it? It has to be. Um.
I'll give you a hint, Ben.
Give me a hint.
It's something potentially life-threatening. Okay, there's one.
I don't know if I'm following your thread. I was gonna go down my own thread, but it can't be that President Biden has forgiven 1.2 billion dollars in student debt, is it?
No.
Oh,
It is
okay.
not. It is not that President Biden has done that.
Oh, that's life changing, not life threatening. I misheard
Yes.
you.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Potentially life-threatening. People. Some people thought that this presidential candidate shouldn't run because of public opinion about some of their activities. And this event, now that it's happened, has made some people double down and say, my opinion was correct. And yet other people saying, Well, now maybe I'll have to rethink my opinion.
Could it be possibly the news that came out that President Biden had got COVID again?
Okay, so here's what it was, Ben, and you've guessed it. I was trying to do one of two events and trying to give hints that were applicable for both of the events.
I copied
So
that.
yes, you've caught the and you at home who aren't seeing the YouTube feed, the little grin that I got on my face when I was like, ha ha ha, ha, I'm doing
so
something
clever. So yeah, but of course, we recorded last Thursday, but on Saturday, there was an assassination attempt on one of the presidential candidates.
Yes, and that was Donald J. Trump,
And
presidential candidate. And okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. 20 years ago, I would have been like, "Oh, this is obvious setup for our benefit." Blah blah. I'm older now. I don't think that it is an obvious setup for our benefit because the amount of people that would have to be getting along with each other to do it. If you were going to do this, it would have taken a bunch of different groups working together in order for it to, which I think would be hard.
Hard, but that still doesn't keep people from claiming that there's evidence for that. Like the delay in the response of the Secret Service to take down the shooter.
Yeah.
Even the way in which, so when it happened, when his ear got grazed by either the bullet, or I heard early on, maybe this isn't true anymore, that it was actually a piece of the teleprompter that flew off and hit him.
Now, we never discussed this until
we have not discussed this
right?
until now. Correct.
Because I heard that as well. I heard that was something the Secret Service was saying, but people are now saying it definitely was one of the bullets. He also got hit in the side of the face, apparently, by a different bullet.
Yeah.
So two bullets.
So after he was hit and the Secret Service rushed the stage, there's this moment, a really photographic moment, where he gets up, he's like pumping his fists in front of the American flag. This
is exactly
face is all bloody.
What I was gonna say.
It's that almost looks staged. Now you compare that to a moment from 2016 on the campaign trail when, and I don't even know why, but for some reason the Secret Service rushed Trump off stage, and they I
remember that.
They gather him and they move him off. It's like, there's no, and they're covering him, no opportunity for a photography event at all. So a lot of people are saying, well, why was this moment made in this moment when that's how the Secret Service deals with this kind of thing?
So this is the thing I was going to say, is that the photo is excellent.
Yeah.
Great photo. Wonderful photo. I said one of the best photos.
This photo came to me. Yeah, strong photo, tears in its eyes.
I saw that I was doing it, and I had to bite back the.
Everybody's saying it's the best photo.
Look, you look at the transcript. It may sound like I was doing an impression. I did no impression.
Let the record show I was doing an impression.
There was an art history person on YouTube that I follow, who did a thing where she was like, okay, look at this photo, now look at this photo taken a few seconds. Like, it's just that person, he's an AP photographer, got the greatest shot.
Yeah.
There's another cool shot that has the bullet, actually one of the bullets whizzing by him.
Yeah.
But I mean, the people, here's the thing, the outlets choosing to run that photo, right, are making a choice. They're making, this is a great present, and it is a great photo. And
one for the
presence
history
of
books.
mind of him to do his thing, raising his,
and shouting "fight, fight, fight."
Oh, I didn't.
Apparently, that's what he's doing, or that's what he did.
Interesting. Um, he thought he was in junior high for a second.
Exactly. Well, I
Um,
mean, and like emotionally and intellectually, is he past that stage?
yeah. So that, and like somebody else was like, the thing that's crazy about it is that the people who are like, well, this is obviously, you know, a setup, or this is obviously, whatever. They all have different. This is I brought up before with UFOs, right? Where there's a picture of a UFO, and someone says, "Well, this isn't a UFO. It's obviously lights reflecting,
Yeah.
the headlights of the car next to him reflecting off of his windshield," and they're recording that. And then someone else says, "This obviously isn't a UFO. It's CGI." Now, both of those people can't be right, right?
Correct.
There has to be some truth. Same thing happening here. Well, it's obviously staged because of blank. Well, it's obviously been staged because of blank. The two things that they say are often counterproductive. Like they're often,
Yeah.
the Secret Service took too long to respond. Uh,
But because the Secret Service was in on it.
they took too long to respond so that he could get his shot off, or they took too long to respond because they didn't actually want to kill him because he was you know on their team or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or they needed to kill him so that he couldn't say that it was you know that it wasn't him,
Yeah.
or all the different.
I even heard some people speculate, and granted, by some people I mean just like randos on in a
Yeah,
comment thread on Reddit, that it was a like a pro wrestling move where he wasn't actually grazed by anything. He went down when he heard the crack and
yeah,
razored his ear, because that's what pro wrestlers will do to make to make the fighting more believable. When they go down, they'll take a razor and cut themselves to create blood.
yeah. So I've been thinking about this. What happens next is going to tell us a little bit more about if it was, or what it was. Like if he avoids outdoor venues from now on, that'll be a little bit more believable, in my opinion. You know how he doesn't like stairs, because he had a bad experience. Same sort of.
It's and he only eats fast food because he's afraid of being poisoned.
Is that why?
I mean, that's what I've heard.
Well, I know that Penn and Teller one time went to China, and they brought a whole bunch of canned food with them because they didn't want to eat locally and run into the problem of getting. And it wasn't just China. They went on a world trip.
There's precedent for that. I mean, there's that famous story of when they were filming Indiana Jones, or
Yeah,
sorry, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and everybody ate the local Tunisian food except for Spielberg, who brought like a crate of SpaghettiOs, and that's all he ate. And during shooting, they all got sick with like I don't know, like dysentery or something.
yeah, exactly. That's why, famously, Harrison Ford shot that guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
And people say, well, no, Indiana Jones shot that guy. Are you sure?
Has anybody heard from that guy since?
Has anyone heard from that guy since? Yeah, exactly. Oh God, I would look it up, but there are some background actors in martial arts and action films that, like, I used to know them by name,
By
and
name.
like was interested when I would see them in something. Um, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Uh, so I am interested now in learning who that guy was and seeing what
Oh,
else he's
yeah.
been in, because he may have been in more things. You never know.
You never know.
I take Tai Chi with this guy. His name is Norman, and he was in Larger Than Life with Bill Murray. That was shot around here.
I don't know this
Uh,
movie.
B- Bill Murray inherits an elephant, and
Okay.
it's pretty good. I mean, I saw it when I was a kid, and I liked it. So when I found out that this guy had been in that film, I immediately
Had to go watch
looked
it.
for it
Did he have a speaking
streaming and
role?
and watch just his part. It's like he says, "Get it out of here" or "Get him out of here" or whatever,
Lock the
and it's
gates.
great. Yeah, lock the gate. Who are your guys, Ben? So there's there's something I need to tell you.
Are you breaking up
I've
with me?
never listened to your mother and I, Ben. No, there.
We both love you very
There's
much.
I've never had a full listen through on any Mark Maron podcast
Oh, really?
episode. Yeah, never have. But I know about Lock the Gates because it's something that Scott Ackerman makes fun of all the time.
Oh, really? I like make fun
Yeah,
of how? Is he making fun of Mark or is he like playing along?
like whenever someone gets a little bit too Mark Maron on the show, he'll make a joke.
All
Lock
right,
the
all right.
gates. Who are your guys? Etc.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
I
So
speaking of
yeah.
strange movies, I watched a documentary on Netflix the other night called Remembering Gene Wilder. And
Oh, I've seen an advertisement for that documentary.
it's pretty good. I mean, it's not. So I also recently watched a documentary on Jim Henson. I think it's called Remembering Jim Henson. Maybe there's just a whole series.
No,
Um,
Jim Henson Idea Man, wasn't it?
yeah, Jim Henson Idea Man. That's it. But
You told me about it
it could easily have been
previously.
Remembering Jim Henson. But
Yeah,
the thing about the Jim Henson documentary and the Mr. Rogers documentary, because these are like fantastic public figures that like mean a lot to you from your
yeah,
childhood. And by the end of both of these documentaries, I was weeping. And I was going into this Gene Wilder documentary kind of expecting the same, kind of expecting like the same sort of like really emotionally like tearing at your heartstrings kind of sort of conclusion, and that didn't happen. That's okay. Maybe I just have a black little heart these days. But the reason I bring this up is not is not to complain about that. But I didn't know about a lot of the movies that he'd done, and surprisingly, some of the movies that he wrote and directed back in the like 70s and 80s kind of problematic. Like I don't know.
are you talking about the Silver Streak, Ben?
I am not talking about Silver Streak. I'm talking about there's one film I can't even remember the name of it, but he's an Amish no he's an Hasidic Jew who finds himself like holing up with a bunch of Native Americans, with a bunch of indigenous people, and so yeah,
You
there's
can't see me on the podcast. You can't see me because it's an audio medium. But I'm like cocking my head, and my eyes are.
I'm watching. So they show clips of this film. I'm actually
Is it a like a joke movie? Like is it a
no.
comedy?
It is a comedy. I don't think they're like making fun of indigenous people. At least I hope
Because
they
a
are.
man called Horse came out at one point in time, and that was about a white guy who. It's not Little Big Man, is it?
Little Big Man is about like a tribe adopting a white kid.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, I'm getting my Native Americans as fish out of water facilitators movies confused.
Yeah. This movie is called The Frisco Kid.
Oh, the Frisco Kid. That sounds really familiar to me.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the cast list, and
Can you look up and see,
it
is the Frisco Kid the name of his character in Blazing Saddles as well? Or was it just
that's the Waco Kid.
The Waco Kid. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Frisco Kid.
I'm looking at the cast pictures, and it doesn't look like. It's hard to say. It's hard to tell from a picture, right? I'm being
Yeah.
very judgy here and problematic myself. But I want to say that some of the people who played Native Americans aren't indigenous, and
Mm,
so in fact, there
yes.
was a an interview with a woman who says in the documentary, because she played like a little girl, she was like one of the producer's kids, right?
Hmm.
And she says in the documentary, so I was a Jewish girl playing an Indian, which is probably not the greatest thing. And then they cut away from her, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, you're probably right. But there were a bunch of other films that he wrote were just dealt with. Not there wasn't a film that he wrote. There was a film that he starred in called "Everything I Ever Wanted to Know About Sex But Was Afraid to Ask," where he falls in love with a sheep. And I'm like, this film actually exists. This was a
And
Woody
it
Allen
does.
film.
Yeah. I don't know. There. Like I said, there were things that I was like really excited to see again. I think we brought this up before, the Spike Milligan episode of The Muppet Show.
Yeah,
Something that I remember from my childhood as being like hilarious and the strangest thing I'd ever seen. And then you watch it, and it's a celebration of our international like brotherhood or whatever, and then just Chinese caricature Muppets,
yeah, yeah.
things of that nature. Yeah, it's weird.
I was just in Disneyland, and all the Disney parks are um revamping Splash Mountain into a new attraction called Tiana's Bayou's Adventure, because Splash Mountain is thematically related to the Song of the South,
Oh,
a film that Disney would like to pretend never existed.
also something I've never seen before.
I've seen clips of it, but I've never seen the full. I don't think you can watch the full movie unless you like torrent it from someplace.
Yeah, and this is one of those things. Oh, you know what I just found out, by the way? You know that clip that has oh god, can't think of his name now. Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts.
Oh
He was in
no,
Heist with Gene Hackman and Delroy Lindo.
Delroy
Delroy
Lindo.
Lindo. There's a clip of Delroy Lindo on a talk show where a guy's saying, you know, why can't I say the N word? And then Delroy Lindo says, well, then say it. You want to say it so bad, say it. I'll say it with you, and all that. And I've loved this clip for a really long time. It's really great. I found out just recently that it was from a TV show called The Good Fight,
Okay.
and so it's a fictional uh, interview that he's in, but it's so good
Yeah.
that I wish it were real. And it's strange for
Does
that to be a wish of mine.
does it come off as a legitimate interview if you watch it without the context of
Yeah,
knowing?
it does.
Okay.
It does.
Interesting.
Um, and it's great because it's one of those things where I mean Jennifer has said basically the same thing that you can say it. Go ahead. She will say to the person who says that they can't say it,
Right.
and they're like no, and she's like why, and they're like well you know I'll get canceled or whatever,
There was
and she's like right you have freedom of expression, you don't have freedom from consequences,
yeah.
you know that whole thing.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that. Um did I say this joke to you recently? I know I conveyed it to somebody, and it might have been you, but it was sort of the same thing. What people often decry that you couldn't make Blazing Saddles today,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I am the one that when you say that I say Why would you need to? It already exists.
Well,
You
see,
can get it for
somebody, I think this was a tweet where somebody was like, you can't make Blazing Saddles again today, because once the actors got in the room and read the script, they would be like, hey, wait a minute, this is Blazing Saddles. This movie already exists.
yeah. I do. That's a much better version of this is what Jennifer and Betty do on a daily basis, Ben. Punch up on the bad jokes that I make. And that's exactly the kind of...
You gotta workshop these things sometimes.
You couldn't make Blazing Saddles today. You'd have to have at least a shooting schedule of 6 to 8 weeks.
Pre-production on a major motion picture takes a long time.
We did it.
I'm gonna tweet that.
Do something funny. If I want to do something funny, all I have to think of is how would Jennifer or Betty say this, and then it's fine. Speaking of jokes that didn't go over so well, this is another Ben's Gonna Guess the News, because I don't know if you know about this. All right, I'm going to phrase it in a way that might make it more interesting. Some of my lefty friends, I know you'll say, Ben, aren't all your friends lefty friends? Most of them.
Well, I know where you live too.
Some of the most lefty friends, very feel saddened and betrayed by Jack Black recently. Why?
Does it have to do with the assassination attempt on Trump?
It does.
Was he...
But nothing to do with Bob Roberts, which is another...
Bob Roberts.
We'll talk about that later. Yeah, do you remember Bob Roberts?
Is that a fiction? Is it a film? Yeah,
yes, it is.
I don't think I've ever seen it, but
it was Jack Black's debut as an actor, I believe, in a major motion picture.
Did Jack Black say something about... So your lefty friends are angry at Jack Black. So I'm wondering if he made some sort of joke about how the assassination attempt was not successful.
Okay.
Like he wished it would have worked. It's something to that effect.
You're so close. But would that make my lefty friends really mad?
Well, I mean, sanctity of life seems to be more of a thing for lefties than for righties.
Sometimes, but this is what I mean by my really lefty friends. They're a little bit more, full of hatred for Ronald Reagan, and when what's his name? Guy who advised a whole bunch of different presidents and died recently. War crimes.
Dick Cheney?
No.
Rest in peace, you piece of... Oh, I can see his face. Kissinger. Henry Kissinger.
Henry Kissinger. When he died, making jokes about him dying. That sort of thing. Yeah. Those guys.
And they're mad at Jack Black.
Right. And it has to do with jokes about the assassination attempt. But they weren't made by Mr. Black. Why would they be upset?
Did Jack Black steal some jokes?
No.
Let's
think about Jack Black and what he does for a living besides acting in films. What else does he do?
He's a musician. Did he write a song about it?
He's a musician.
He's a singer.
Is he a solo musician?
No,
Ben?
he has Kyle Gass is his partner in Tenacious D.
Right, and would you say that fans of Tenacious D, there's a feeling that the two of them are friends. The two of them might be inseparable. Like there's nothing that one of them could say.
Joke about somebody
the other one
killing Kyle?
No, but you're getting close. There's nothing that either one of them could say that would make the other one betray them in any sort of a public fashion.
Nothing either one of them could say, except for what Jack Black said, which is why all the lefty people are angry at him.
No, it's not about what Jack Black said. It's so amazing, Ben. This is one of those things of where you're going to get mad at me when I tell you what it is, because you're going to be like, how is that not what I already said?
Or how
But
am I
or
even
why
supposed
didn't
to
you
know?
why didn't you give me?
Why are you still leading me down the road, even though I sort of got in the neighborhood?
Okay, so what? So let's get to where we are right now.
I
Where are
probably
we right now?
would have won the point if it was on. Wait, don't tell me. Jack Black. People on the left are angry with Jack Black because of something connected to the assassination attempt. Something he said on stage. Something he
Again, nothing that Jack Black said.
Was it something Kyle Gass said?
It is something Kyle Gass said.
And
why are they mad at Jack Black?
Because he's the front man. He's the face of the band. Jack Black came to his defense.
No.
Jack Black did not come to his defense. Jack Black said that he should not have said something.
Right. He threw Kyle Gass under the bus.
Oh, okay.
At a Tenacious D concert, Kyle Gass, this is in Australia, Kyle Gass was asked to make a wish because it was his birthday. He blew out the candles and said, "Don't miss Trump next time."
Ah.
And Jack Black ended the tour.
Really?
Of Tenacious D and said that, they would, have to rethink their creative projects going forward, etc. So all of my really lefty friends are like, it was obviously a joke. It was said in jest. They're comedians.
Yeah.
These are the guys that did, and then they named some of the things that they did.
If it's,
I can't believe that Jack has chosen money and his endorsements over his friend Kyle. That's what they're angry about.
I don't know where the endorsements come into play, but
the idea that Disney would be mad at him for, or whoever. That's the concept.
This is also one of those things where when I hear about a creative partnership ending on something that feels minor to an outsider, or like a relationship ending on something that feels minor to an outsider, I'm like, there needs to be more there. There has to be.
Yeah.
There must have been something building up to this. There must have been like, this is the final straw in a whole series of flaws. Paul says with air quotes, "No one can stand your wife."
Yeah. Really? Is that what it was? I don't think so.
So.
The Beatles, Ben. Oh, speaking of the Beatles, hey, Ben likes the Beatles. Something I found out about, a book that came out. You might already know about it. Apparently, Paul McCartney had a camera with him during the height of the Beatles' career, and it's called something like "Eye of the Hurricane" or "In the Eye of the Storm," something like that. Photographs that he took on his camera, while on tour. And it's a big photo album book, and apparently it's very well done.
Like, if
from what I hear,
Sir Paul doesn't have enough money, this blatant cash grab is just pathetic.
Yes, blatant sounds like a good name, I think, for an heir to Family Fortune. Blatant Chickensworth. Blatant, come down here. That sort of thing. So,
Sir Blatant.
and this is a question, I guess. I don't think that I would make that joke. I don't think I would.
What Kyle Gass said?
Maybe if I had like a layer of wordplay on it or something like that, it would be, but it was a very simple, straight ahead joke. But, and if it were in character for someone, right? Like I could see that. Maybe it is in his character. I don't know, but it does come off a little bit ham-fisted, etc. If you had made that joke, I don't think that I would end our partnership over it. It doesn't seem like something where I would. And here's the other thing: you're not the guy that you are out of the two of us probably the one more likely to make that joke, but people would not expect it coming from
Probably.
you,
And I
which
think,
is
and that's
one of the things that would be funny about it.
that's probably why, if I were to make that joke, that's why I would make that joke, is because it's
Yeah,
not expected. It would be a
yeah.
shock comedy, the
You're shock
the
comedy.
T the timid guy says that thing.
You're not Mr. Rogers, right? I know that. You know that. But
Nobody
but
is.
but Ben saying that is shocking. Yes, that would be uh
Oh,
you know
you know, yeah, it when you're dealing with assassination attempts, even for, like, I do not want another Trump presidency, right?
yeah.
That would be the worst case scenario after November. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, do I have the gall to take it to the extreme in that regard? Not like doing it myself, of course, but like cheerleading that event happening. Would I, would I approve of that if, let's say it worked. Let's say it worked, and because I heard the news in my car on the way home from a job. Like, how would I feel if I suddenly found out that this attempt worked? Like, would I feel sorrow? Would I feel relief? I don't know if I would
I
feel
would
joy.
feel I would feel very much like, oh no, who's it going to be now? Like
Yeah,
like
because we might get a smart fascist.
Well, and this is the other thing is that you know you and I are we're not full breaking the fourth wall, but we are, breaking the fourth wall enough that we know that the people who decide, who gets to be president, the electoral college,
Yeah.
uh, and this is the thing that I like. It's like, well, the people who decide who's going to be president, well, we the people who decide, no,
Do we?
not really. No. I mean, we're given the kiddie steering wheel, and we get to do the popular vote, but that's not
I remember
who
being
always becomes
I
president.
remember being in junior
So,
high and in the course on the Constitution, the very first thing the teacher said to the whole class was, "You will never vote for the president of the United States."
man or woman?
Man, Mr. Bochy.
Uh, cool guy? Not a cool guy?
Eh,
How'd you like him?
I liked him fine. He was crotchety, near retirement, but he wasn't mean or anything.
I had an American civics class, uh, and my teacher was an ex-Republican state representative.
Fun.
So not a, oh, it was great, but I mean, here's the thing. I got a very interesting little education. He's like, you want to talk conspiracy theories? People like, people are all about, well, this is when Bush Sr. was
Yeah.
president. People are all
HW.
about Bush did this or whatever. Let me tell you about Jimmy Carter, Coca-Cola factory, and a South American country. And I don't remember what it was, but basically, Coca-Cola wanted to build a factory. The local government wouldn't allow it. We invaded that country, or helped the country
Yeah.
overthrow a dictator or whatever. And then we got our Coca-Cola factory. He's like, now that's not a conspiracy. That's just business being done.
Right.
But,
That's not a
even-
coincidence.
and he was like, even your Jimmy Carter, your wonderful building houses, Jimmy Carter, whatever, did this thing. So that was kind of an eye opener for me a little bit before all that other stuff that came through. But I feel like you and I are going to be in strongholds, right? Chicago, Illinois, hated. But this is the one thing that I am a little bit concerned about. I brought this up to Jennifer, and she's like, "What are you talking about? It's not going to be a
I
problem."
get the sense that she says that to you a lot.
I feel yes. I feel like it is possible that if they were going to pick a city to try some sort of martial law thing on, Chicago is their scapegoat. It'd be the one that they would try. But Chicago's also pretty big. Maybe they would try like Detroit first or something.
I mean, like Seattle and Portland are also boogeymen to the right. You know, it's
Yeah, it really is. We're both going to be living in boogeyman states.
Yeah,
it's true.
I, for one,
like
welcome our new
DC
boogeyman overlords.
Oh man, can you imagine? Oh, speaking about which, I now have written, and I say written, Ben, because I do in fact, this is not fully AI generated. I do write all the lyrics to all the songs.
But AI does the music and the singing and the tempo and the melody.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 different auto-generated songs.
That's like 3 albums worth.
That I like.
That you like.
And probably over. I've probably generated over 100. Just because.
With 100 different lyric sets.
No, with these 30 lyric sets.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, this one, like there's our bodies are weird, as you've often sneered, it's a sin to be sick in America, right? That lyric. Our bodies are weird, and as you've often sneered, it's a sin to be sick in Araria, they'll say, instead of America. And then it's like, no, gotta say America. And so I put America in on all caps and with quotation marks around it.
Yeah.
And then it works, right? Little things like that.
So you're telling me it's not perfect.
It's not perfect. No. You have to finesse it. You have to.
I saw, maybe you've seen this too, an AI generated video of young stars like cuddling up to their older selves.
Oh yeah.
And I swear to God, it looks like those videos were cut off right before they started kissing.
Yeah. It really is. And this is a great example, Ben. So I have a hard time. You can do it, right? But I have a hard time convincing the AI that when I want a woman singing, I don't want the woman to sound happy or, like commercially singy. I want her to sound like trying to get a sort of Janis Joplin kind of singer is hard, right? Because it's working off of a data set of popular music, probably. I don't know exactly where they get their data from. Again, this is one of the issues, but I'm also not selling my music commercially. I'm listening to it, and it's
You're
fun.
enjoying it.
I am enjoying it. Is it one thing I have learned? Very similar to dreams, people don't care about listening to the songs that you make. And when I say people, I mean Jennifer and Betty don't care about listening to the songs that I make.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to share them with anybody else.
Right.
Except for Steven, who has heard 2 of them. But like, and this is an example. There's a couple that I've done that I think would make good Half Brothers songs.
Yeah.
So I could. Now, I love the Half Brothers. So what I'm saying right now should not in any way diminish their artistry at all. And hopefully it will not. I know when I hand music over to them. Oh, this won't diminish at all. It's going to make this sound. If I were to do the same thing, hand lyrics over to them, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to make exactly what I'm envisioning,
Right.
right? But what they're going to make is good. Whereas this thing, when I use it, it's not going to make what I want right away, and it's not going to be good right away. I have to run it through a whole bunch of iterations before
You
I
have to
enjoy what it
rehearse.
is. Well, yeah, kind of. I feel like this is what a producer must feel like, because wow, I just spent all this time generating this thing, and it's nothing like what I want. You guys got to go back into the studio and try again, that sort of thing.
That's what producers are gonna. Every like real record producer now just kind of turned over in their studio because the work that they do was now equated to hitting refresh on an app.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, if you are an artist, which I do consider myself after this, because this happens, and you use AI to do stuff. If you don't like, if I couldn't write the lyrics for this, right?
Yeah.
If it generated everything, like if I just typed in, "Give me a song about this," I wouldn't want to do it because I don't have a hand in that. I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I stopped doing the AI art thing with that AI art thing that I was on is that I could make the models, right. I could add, this is kind of what I want to do, this is sort of the feel that I want, but I wasn't really involved, right. I gave it its parameters, and I was able to make stuff that looked like stuff that I liked, but I didn't do enough. And I think that more and more, that's what people are gonna, I feel like that's where it's gonna throw up, because I don't get a sense of ownership when I do it that way. Other people do. Other people are like, well, I was the one who came up with these words and I put them in. For me, like, yeah, I can spend a lot of time generating image after image after image from a prompt, and eventually I find one that I like, right? And I can look at that and I can say, this is the image that I like. But the amount of say I had in it is negligible. And that doesn't feel good. Which is one of the reasons why I wanted to make a model off of my own face.
Yeah, and
so that there was
there's also
for sure me there.
There's also going. I mean, like you said that some people might drop off because there's like that level of input is not as much as, say, like an artist would have in a piece of art, something you can't really be proud of because it came from you, right? This didn't really come from you.
Your signature, whatever.
Yeah. Until we as a society figure out how to monetize everything, in which case you're gonna find artists, not even artists, you're gonna find people who don't care about that, who don't care about their signature on a piece of art.
There are already people out there like that.
Yeah, but it's not really monetized yet, so there's gonna be more once you figure out how to make some money on it.
But the thing is, I don't know. Like, image to image is my favorite. That's the thing that I like the best. And I'm sure when a good product for image to image comes out, I might get back into it, where I draw something and then it changes the thing that I've drawn into something.
Yeah.
Like when Flash came out, right? The vector-based drawing, I loved it because all of a sudden my lines were really clean. They're really good. I appreciated what my artwork ended up looking like at the end of it.
Yeah.
That I could see being something I'd be interested in. But I'd have to actually, be able to draw something first for them to build off of.
Right.
And right now, it's not there. It's text to image, which I'm not interested in as much anymore. So anyway.
And with that,
the bottom line is, of course, uh, where I fall in this thing. I'm not upset that my art has been moved into the larger training sets. You know, giraffe and elephant are in there. I know it. They're. I did the little reverse engine search and all that. I don't mind that. What I would mind if someone were to then use a model that's using that and make giraffe and elephant and sell it as this is Paul Goody's giraffe and elephant. That would make me upset.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't know. I know we're already to the end, but I just wanted to say just really quick, the difference between graphic design and fine art. There's a big difference. Provenance, right? The idea of, like, for instance, a painter, right? A painter who's working on a painting. If you buy that painting for like $5 million or whatever, AI can't do that. Part of the deal is that you're painting it and you're documenting yourself painting it, and your studio has, letters of authenticity that
Yeah.
you were the one that did this painting, et cetera, et cetera. So
And we haven't gotten to the place
that's
yet
not
where
going away.
we haven't gotten to the place yet where somebody's buying a painting because it's AI. But people will
Well,
spend $5 million on a painting because it's a Rothko, even if they don't,
right.
even if it doesn't appeal to them, in some sort of artistic way.
We do have some artists who are creating digital art that use AI in their art generation, whose stuff has sold, comparable to a painter,
Yeah.
right? But again, like you said, they're a known entity.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're using AI to do this thing is part of the reason why it costs, but it's because of the name attached to it. That's the big thing.
Yep.
So, anyway, sorry, Ben, didn't mean to take it,
Oh
much
no,
further.
we're 2 minutes
Uh,
over.
it's great talking to you. I always
Yep.
enjoy talking to you. Thank you so much. How's it happening? Keep it wrong.
Keep it wrong, Paul.
I'll talk to you next
For
week.
the people on the Patreon that doesn't exist, stay tuned for the post-show discussion.
Yes, indeed. Remember, if there is ever a Patreon and you're listening to it on there, something has gone horribly wrong.
Horribly, horribly awry. All right.